There comes a moment in life that is difficult to describe. It doesn't arrive with celebration. There is no announcement, no visible turning point. In fact, most people don't even notice when it first begins. But something inside you changes. For a long time, your thoughts may have been filled with questions. Questions about where life is going. Questions about decisions that once seemed certain. Questions about whether the path you are walking is still the one that belongs to you. Those questions can follow a person for years. Sometimes they whisper quietly in the background of daily life. Other times they arrive loudly, interrupting ordinary moments, with a sudden feeling that something inside you is shifting. At first, those feelings can be unsettling. When life begins to feel unfamiliar, the instinct is often to search for answers quickly. We try to analyze the situation. We revisit past choices. We imagine alternative paths we might have taken. It is natural to want clarity. Most of us grow up believing that clarity is something responsible adults eventually achieve. That by a certain age, life should feel organized and understandable. But reality often unfolds differently. There are chapters of life when the old explanations no longer seem to apply. Things that once felt meaningful may begin to feel distant. Roles that once defined you may slowly loosen their hold. And in those moments, it can feel as though you are standing between two versions of yourself, one that belongs to the past and one that has not fully revealed itself yet. This space between identities can feel uncomfortable. It is difficult to stand in a place where you cannot fully explain who you are becoming. Many people spend years trying to rush through this stage. They search for quick solutions. They look for new goals, new labels, or new directions that might restore the sense of certainty they once had. But transformation rarely follows a schedule. Sometimes the most important changes in a person's life happen quietly and gradually, not through dramatic decisions, but through small moments of awareness. A moment when you notice that you are reacting differently than you once did. A moment when something that used to disturb you no longer carries the same weight. A moment when silence feels more comfortable than constant explanation. These subtle shifts can easily go unnoticed, but over time, they accumulate. And eventually, you begin to recognize that you are no longer the same person who first entered this period of questioning. Something inside you has matured, not in the sense of having all the answers, but in the sense of being able to live peacefully without needing them. This is a kind of wisdom that cannot be rushed. It develops slowly, shaped by experience. Every conversation that made you reconsider your assumptions, every disappointment that forced you to look deeper, every quiet evening spent reflecting on the direction of your life. And these moments, they become teachers, not the loud kind that deliver obvious lessons, but the quiet kind that reshape the way you see the world. And gradually you begin to notice something unexpected. The urgency that once followed you everywhere has softened. You no longer feel the need to resolve every uncertainty immediately. You no longer feel obligated to defend every decision you make. There is a growing comfort in simply allowing life to unfold. This does not mean that challenges disappear, and difficult days, they still come. Unexpected changes still occur. Life continues to move in ways that cannot always be predicted, but the difference is in how you meet those moments. Earlier in life, uncertainty may have felt like a threat, something that needed to be eliminated before you could relax. Now, uncertainty begins to feel more like a natural part of the human experience, something that accompanies growth rather than preventing it. And in this realization, a new kind of peace begins to appear. Not the fragile peace that depends on everything going according to plan, but a deeper, steadier peace that comes from knowing you have the ability to adapt. You begin trusting your capacity to move through unfamiliar territory. You begin trusting your own judgment in ways you may not have before. This trust does not come from perfection. It comes strictly from experience. You have already faced moments you once believed you could not handle. You have already navigated situations that felt overwhelming at the time. And through those experiences, you have quietly built resilience. Not the dramatic resilience often portrayed in stories, but the quiet resilience that allows a person to continue moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Over time, this resilience transforms the way you relate to your own life. You stop measuring progress only through visible achievements. You begin recognizing internal shifts that once went unnoticed. Patience, perspective, the ability to pause before reacting, the ability to listen more carefully to your own thoughts. These qualities may not attract attention from the outside world, but internally, they represent profound growth. And perhaps this is the moment when something important becomes clear. The peace you were searching for was never meant to arrive through external circumstances alone. It was always connected to how you relate to yourself, to the way you interpret your experiences, to the patience you allow yourself while continuing to grow. Many people spend years believing that peace will appear once life becomes stable, but life rarely stays stable for long. Circumstances change in ways we don't expect. Relationships evolve over the years. New responsibilities appear out of nowhere. If peace depended entirely on external conditions, it would always remain temporary. But when peace begins to grow from within, something different happens. You become less dependent on perfect situations. You become more capable of carrying steadiness with you wherever you go. This does not mean that life becomes easy. It simply means that you no longer feel powerless when difficulties appear. You recognize that you have already walked through complexity before, and you know that you can do it again. There is a quiet confidence in that realization. It is not arrogance or pride. It is not certainty or knowing it all. Just a calm understanding that you are capable of meeting life as it arrives. And perhaps this is what many people are truly searching for when they speak about peace, not the absence of challenges, but the presence of inner steadiness, a sense that whatever unfolds next, you will be able to face it with awareness and strength. When this understanding settles into your life, something subtle begins to change. The future no longer feels like something you must constantly control. Instead, it becomes something you are willing to experience. You remain thoughtful about your choices. You continue caring about the direction of your life, but the pressure to predict every outcome begins to fade. And in that space, curiosity returns. You become open to possibilities you might not have considered before. You become more willing to explore unfamiliar ideas. You allow yourself to grow in ways that once felt uncertain. This openness brings a new energy to life, not the restless energy of constant searching, but the quiet energy of continued discovery. Because even after many years of experience, life still contains unknown chapters. There are still lessons waiting to be learned, still perspectives waiting to be understood, still moments of connection waiting to appear in unexpected places. Recognizing this can bring a sense of humility. No matter how much we learn, there will always be more to discover. And perhaps that is part of the beauty of the human journey. Growth does not end at a particular age. Reflection does not belong only to certain stages of life. The process of becoming continues as long as we remain open to it. So if you find yourself standing in a moment of quiet reflection, if you notice that the urgency of earlier years has softened, if you feel a growing ability to sit comfortably with unanswered questions, you may already be experiencing the kind of peace many people spend years searching for. It is not a final destination, but a steady way of moving through the world, a way of living that allows both uncertainty and possibility to exist side by side. And in that balance, something meaningful emerges. A life that does not need to be perfectly explained in order to be deeply lived. If this reflection resonated with you, you might find a home in this space. Or if these thoughts feel familiar, you are welcome to walk this journey. Because every person who pauses to reflect on their life is already taking part in something quietly extraordinary. The simple act of paying attention to our inner world is one of the most meaningful journeys a human being can take. And sometimes, The peace we were looking for begins the moment we realize we are already walking that path.